For the first time in over a year, the Megacanners have a guest. Fresh from a vaccine jab and a nasal swab, the Wandering Barman himself, Chris Davis, joins Megan and Konrad for a Gentleman Jack and Coke, truly the Burger King of cocktails. Chris explains what it was like for performing artists facing an existential crisis during a pandemic. Megan explains why Merkel is wrong about vaccine waivers. And Konrad mainly sort of chips in when he can think of something to say. Cheers!
It's time for another episode of Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan. I'm here with ex-Berliner magazine and Konrad Werner.
Hello.
Hello, Konrad. And the reason there was that weird pause there is because Konrad and I are sharing a mic because very, very, very excitingly, we have a guest. We have the wonderful Chris Davis, writer, stand-up comedian, mixologist. Hi, Chris.
Hi, after that description, I hate myself. I do. I detest that person who you just introduced.
I know. To be fair, you wanted to say cocktail barkeep, and I made you refer to yourself as a mixologist.
To be honest, that's actually the least of my worries. It's the fact that it was like writer and stand-up and mixologist, but it is what it is, and you got to deal with it.
Well, we're very excited. We've all had our Schnell tests today because we wanted to have Chris come on to talk to us about what it's like to be a writer and a performer and somebody who works in hospitality as well during Corona times. But before that, let's drink.
Yes.
My hands are full of megas. Okay, I don't know if anyone's had this before, but I have not had this Megacan before. And it is a Jack Daniels and Coke, but for some reason, it's called a Gentleman Jack, and it's in a new kind of can because it's partially shiny, partially matte, which we all know means fancy, but also textured. I'm going to give you this to touch.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Textured. Gentleman Jack sounds like a Victorian condom, doesn't it? It's when you used to go to your apothecary, you say, I'd like a Gentleman Jack, please. And that's why it's kind of got this sort of it's ribbed.
Ribbed for the gentleman's pleasure?
Yeah.
That is not what I thought you were going to say. I was thinking it's quite handy because the more Megacans you drink, it might help it you not drop it or something. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Dear God. Does that taste any different to the normal one?
It's been double mellowed for smoothness.
It is slightly smoother. As our resident mixologist, talk us through.
Well, Gentleman Jack is a product of Jack Daniels. They tried to go like, bourgeois.
The Victorian condom route.
Yes, yeah. And they released, it's kind of like double the price and smoother and less sweet. And it comes in a really big, like, flat, oblong bottle called Gentleman Jack. Yeah, so it is an actual spirit that you can buy. And I'm assuming that is what is supposed to be in here.
Or at least that's whatever it is they put in to make it taste like that. I don't really know
exactly
how megas are made. I don't want to know. I love them.
I am a huge fan of the Mega.
You really are, and it's always exciting when we have a guest, full stop, and a guest that always got loads of interesting things to say, but particularly when we have guests that I know are also mega aficionados. Do you have a favourite?
Probably, yeah, like the Jack, the kind of Jack Cola is my go-to.
Classic.
Oh, but the Jim Beam Cola is cheapest. I tend, because I buy my Megacans from the supermarket, I advise all to do the same. Because they're like $2.60, $2.70, and I sound very Scottish right now all of a sudden. But it's the alcohol that does it. But yeah, they're all bloody good.
I'm surprised that you like Megacans though, because I've had your cocktails and they're amazing. And
you've tasted my cocktails.
Yes.
I also find them amazing.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that you must. I just think when you taste a Megacan, you must think I could do this much better.
Have you ever met like a cook who at the end of his shift is just munching on a dirty kebab at the end of the night, or like you catch him in McDonald's or something? I found that.
Is that, yeah, I heard that, yeah.
Working at a very high-end restaurant once, it was like my second shift, and I just came out to the garden. Whenever I was starting my shift, they were on their break, and it was just 10 really high-end cooks, and they were just all munching on kebabs, and I was like, no, that is interesting. So this is the McDonald's and kebab of cocktails essentially, and it tastes great.
Good.
I'll have mine ohne Zwiebel, please.
Yeah, no Zwiebeln in the kebab. Are you mad? We should also mention that people can find you and listen to you. You also have podcasts, don't you?
I do. I have 2 podcasts at the moment. One called Lifting Your Spirits and another called, which is with a guest, and I make them a cocktail and we talk about life. And another one is called Dimming the Light, which is a little personal kind of mental health project of mine where I just kind of talk out loud for half an hour. You can find both of them on YouTube.
I have been listening. And is the Dimming the Light one, that's something that you kind of started in Corona times, eh?
I started both in Corona times, yeah. I wasn't like I didn't really have any ambition to do podcasts and stuff, but the idea was to keep moving when everything else had stopped. And yeah, the Dimming the Light, it's like a little kind of personal project of mine. I like it. It's kind of like me on stage just talking out loud at. The difference is when you're on stage you can talk to people and get a reaction as to whether it's good or not, and with the internet it's literally just to avoid
yeah because we have each other.
We do. If we have nothing else.
Nothing else. I was like walking in the park yesterday with a friend and I was like, she's like, you know, it makes me feel like you're in the room when I listen to the podcast. And I was like, oh God, when people can actually just go to the pub with their friends and rant about politics, like, are our listeners going to disappear?
Yeah.
But anyway.
No, it's great because I love these. I love especially Megan's Megacan as well, because like they are the things, and I hope it's the same with mine as well. Like they are the things that you can't spend all your time in the pub. And the times that you're not in the pub.
We get this incident any further down. I am.
Stick on. I'll stick on a podcast when you're cooking your dinner. That's what I always do when I listen to you guys.
But yeah, speaking of pubs, we've got good-ish news, corona-wise, in Germany at the moment. Everyone is excited because the incidence in Berlin is finally under 100. It's at like 98 or something.
Does that mean we get to go to beer gardens?
It may mean that at Pfingsten, which I was trying to... Is that Whitsun? Okay. So they were saying that in 2.5 weeks, if we keep the incidence down below a thing, then we can maybe have beer garden, like Außengastronomie.
I can't because mine burnt down.
Oh, I know.
Yours did burn down and I feel really bad.
I feel bad as well.
Do you know about mine?
I do. Pass by it all the time.
Yeah.
Because we are very close neighbours.
I love that place.
Yeah.
It burnt down a few weeks ago. I was very upset. It's actually the worst thing that's happened to me in the last 2 months.
Did you ever get drunk there and then go try play mini golf?
Oh yeah, all the time. And I am surprisingly good at mini golf.
Me too.
It's like a secret superpower that I have. I can just about beat anyone at mini golf.
I played it twice, like not last year but the year before, and I won both times. And that's the only time I've done it since I was a kid. And I'm now afraid because I've got this like 100% perfect streak. Anyway.
Go on, right.
Some other news is we are finally in Germany bashing out the vaccines. We have now had in the last, I think, week or last 10 days, we've had 2 record-breaking days of over 1 million vaccines given. Last Wednesday and I think this Wednesday's your vaccine day apparently. But only China, I think, and the US have topped that. I got my Pfizer BioNTech chip. Chip. They put a chip in your brain. I'm making a anti-vaxxer joke, which is a bit mean, seriously. And yeah, anybody else you?
I got mine today. I got the AstraZeneca,
or just Astra, they're calling it here, which I quite like the beer.
Totally. I went down today and got that. It was schmerzlos.
I'm on the waiting list, and I have got an appointment at the end of May because it turns out that doing podcasts means that I am in Prioritätsgruppe 3.
Yeah, to be clear to everyone, it's being a journalist. I think is getting you on the list.
Did you know how, like, you know, hearing, because you were in a priority group, Megan, yeah, and it's just it's quite telling, as because it's almost quite kind of hierarchical in a way that when you get you should be prioritizing getting vaccinations. That's I'm not against that at all, but it's very interesting for people like me who are just like. We are genuinely the last. Like, there's no priority. We don't even know what priority means. So a priority for what? Skipping a queue or something like that? Yeah. Like, what I do is important enough that I'm going to get vaccinated before you. Yeah. You writer, performer, maker of drunkards.
Yeah, but I think actually are people who work now in hospitality in the group 3? I can't quite remember.
No, I checked this.
Oh, really?
Because only people who, if you sell food, you are. If you are
not mixologists.
If you work in a supermarket, you are on the list.
Yeah.
And if you're on in any kind of food retail, then that is counted as critical infrastructure, but not if you just like sell hot food in a McDonald's or something. Think in a restaurant, that doesn't count. Like a gastronomy doesn't count. But
anyone working in a supermarket should have got it. Like they should be priority 1, man. Like
the thing
is,
no, they were the priority 3.
Yeah, they were priority 3, along with lots of other people. The thing is, you say that, and it's so everyone thing, and then you actually read the list. Because I remember this when the priority list came out, and there was all this kind of controversy and everything, and you just look at the list and you're like, oh fuck, I am so glad that was not my job. But yeah, we're having some like vaccine news. I had a great experience at the Impfzentrum in Tegel. It was like being in a club because it's obviously like big disused area. Most of the staff there, the non-medical ones, are all out of people who would be working at clubs normally. So they're all just very young, very hot. I think because they're all vaccinated. So they're having the time of their lives by the look of it whenever the door's shut. I was first the third guy. You're kind of just like waved around by loads of people in high-vis vests. I got my bag checked. It was like, and I was so happy. And I was just like, oh. But yeah, some young lad like waving me through just with the whole side of his neck was hickeys. Just like...
yeah.
Yes, but it was lovely.
Bring back the hickey.
Oh,
if that was a fad that came out from the disappearance of COVID, fantastic. I mean,
it's still going strong, believe me, as someone who works with teenagers. I have, you need to take them for dinner first. Like, they are obviously hungry. But obviously I completely alarmed the German doctors because when they put it in, I shouted in joy, woo! And then they thought I was having some kind of like insane reaction or that I was mad, obviously, but I just had to explain to them that it was just feelings. But obviously we are very, very lucky here in our position in Germany, and we're going to talk a little bit in a second about the controversy around vaccines and who in the world across the globe is getting them, who's not, and why that might be. But yeah, I guess we all wanted to preface this conversation because we're going to like kind of complain about stuff in Germany and criticize the German government, and obviously we want to make sure that we frame that within understanding our privilege.
Well, yeah, because last week was very exciting for aid organisations.
Yes.
Because they had been campaigning for a long time, led by South Africa, to have the intellectual property rights for vaccines to be lifted, to be waived with an I. Amazingly, because so far, if you looked at a map of which countries wanted to do the waiver and which ones didn't, all the ones that did were basically all the developed world. So all of Europe, the United States and Japan. And then, who should flip? Mr. Biden.
Mr. Joe Biden.
Biden flipped, and that put a lot of pressure, especially on the EU and especially on Germany. So this week, Angela Merkel had to say whether, where she stood on this. And she said, the US suggestion for the lifting of patent protection for COVID-19 vaccines has significant implications for vaccine production as a whole. The limiting factors in the production of vaccines are the production capacities and the high quality standards and not patents. So she is against it. And then she said, the reason for this is the protection of intellectual property is a source of innovation and must remain so in the future. Megan, what do you think of that?
Yeah, so I actually listened to, and we can link it because we should, and they really break it down really well, but an American podcast called Citations Needed. This is not like crazy just things. This is Oxfam are sort of asking for this. All the people who are actually know what is needed on the ground in order to...
Yeah, and all the governments of all the countries.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just like, please can we like do this because you have got all of these privileges, and we're, you look at the situation in India, you look at the situation in South America, and it's just appalling, and it really makes me sick there's several things that happened. One is that they overly simplify things and they try to make it into this like left-wing crazy dream, like, well, if we just give people money for nothing, they'll all just like lie down and we'll have to clean around them. It's like, no, that's not how humans work. And also they're like, well, you can't just like hand people vaccine recipes and then let them go wild in their Dexter's laboratories. They're like, also not what they're asking for. They're like, can you just come over here and show us how to do it so that everybody can get vaccinated so we don't end up like killing thousands of people while all of us are fucking running around with our yellow impfpessa being insufferable going on holiday. So that's an oversimplification. That's not what people are asking. They do want it to be like a kind of, from what I understand, like a concerted effort where you would go over and set stuff up and set up the production facilities and show people how to do it, which seems pretty cool to me. And the second thing in then this fucking bullshit innovation argument. First of all, we know it's not innovation. What's going to drive innovation? Like, it's just money. They want more money. And then what they don't say is, but if we take away the money investment, are scientists who work on developing vaccines going to care about saving lives? Genuinely, of course they fucking do. Yeah. Also, they've got more money than God. They don't need any more. So what's going to drive innovation? Well, people's human decency, which actually we can count on. So that's a bullshit argument. The third bullshit argument is this, but it's better actually to do it through charity and we're going to do all of this and then Vax Live. Have you heard of Vax Live, Chris? Are you going to be watching it? I'm aware that it's like a horrible modern day version of Live Aid that was 1985. That's what Except this time with Selena Gomez. I've got no problem with Selena Gomez. Harry and Meghan, Duchess and Duke of Sussex? Yeah. I don't know. I thought they took that back. Oh, he's not HRH anymore.
Let's not get into that.
Anyway, that's a whole other podcast which we will never record. Anyway, so yeah, Vax Live is a thing that they're doing. Allegedly, there's very few musicians and a lot of like appearances by Ben Affleck and Sean Penn, which sound surely the world has suffered enough at this stage of 2021.
Agreed.
Okay, so they're doing Vax Live.
Which is, of course, then massively funded. And this is what this podcast I was listening to really brought up. A lot of who is behind this and a lot of organizations, even the sort of universities and scientific organizations that are coming out and saying, maybe waiving the IP waiver is not, maybe it's not such a good idea. This is why, They all receive huge amounts of money from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is obviously against it. And I've got his chip inside of me. Bastard.
You'd think the chip would have maybe influenced your speech now, but it didn't.
Yeah, but it hasn't. It'll take more than that to silence this socialist. I was a bit worried when he announced his divorce that I'd infiltrated his brain with my lack of respect for the institution of marriage. I was like, oh no, I've brought down Bill and Melinda. Anyway, let's talk about aid in a different way.
Chris's life.
Are you over there? Are you guys the north of the world over there?
We're the global north, but like
and
not
I'm the global south.
I wanted to have you on just because I wanted to chat to you.
Please.
But also, you've been very open on the podcast and stuff about what it's been like to experience creative purpose has really been massively affected in a way that Konrad and I have not been in those areas.
Yeah, I think that's why you invited me on, because you kind of were like, you and Konrad's, we're still working. What's it like not to work? Why don't you come talk about that?
What is that like?
But I would like to say just off the top, and this is completely unrelated, it's since I listen to you guys, like a lot, it's really surreal being here. Real life, seeing it visually. It's cool.
That's really cute.
It's really, really cool. So, because I'm such an egotist, anything I do, I have to do a video of it, or it has to be on my face or something, but it's always kind of behind a Spotify screen with you guys.
So, tell us a bit about this time last year, or March 2020.
I'll give you like a rough, and I'll try and be as non-depressing as possible, and I will also...
It's not in... You said you were a listener of this show. Depressing is our wheelhouse, but we do have booze.
But I would also, I'll try and go in, and if at any point I sound like a little child who hasn't gotten what he wanted, and the Northern Europe was a little kind of white privileged man, then I do apologise. But I think it might be justified by the end of it. Basically, to cut a very long story short, obviously the pandemic happens in March, and all performers, they have like the carpet whipped from beneath them, and there's just nothing. There's nothing. and I'll solely just talk about like the performance side of it, the work side of it. You know, like when you're kind of, you know, you call it going to work. You don't say I've got I've got a show, or what you doing there, or what I'm working that day. I can't make it.
Yeah, and I don't think we've actually mentioned, but you have a long-running like in-person comedy event called the Wandering Barman, where you do comedy and serve drinks, and it's excellent. Yeah, it's good. And that's been going for a long time.
It's good fun. That's been going for about 5 years, and I only started doing it full time, so quit all the other jobs in March 2019. So then like March 2020 comes, and it was like everything was going great, as usually things are.
How many gigs were you doing every week?
I was doing about 5 or 6 a month. But those were like, you know, pretty big gigs, so they were like an hour and a half long. There's like anywhere between 50 and 100 people, and that was paying the bills handsomely. And I was kind of like, you know, I've got a bit of a kind of hippie / punk like mentality and heart. And basically one of the reasons that when I saw an opportunity to combine cocktails and stand-up comedy, right, to do that show, I was like, people will enjoy this and people will also pay for it. So I was like, I can work like 6, 7, 8 times a month and still make the same amount of money that I would working like a 9 to 5 or hustling or whatever. So there's a bit of like resentment to the establishment, which isn't really the establishment's fault, but I like to say it anyway, when it all kind of just disappeared and wasn't happening. But like everyone else, we hustled pretty quickly and done a lot of online stuff, done a lot of digital stuff, convert anything that you've got onto digital. But I came up with a cake analogy, if you might want to hear it, specifically for this. So,
you know I love a cake.
I mean, I'm sure your listeners know that you are an avid cake maker, right? But
I'm not sure they do actually.
Well, your cakes are bloody fantastic. So this is how I imagine, right? Like this is how I can put it into like layman's term. Simply, if you're not a performer and you're like, oh, stop complaining, you can't go on a stage and talk shit, you know, because that is what I do and that's how I make my bread. So let's say for example, I'm a cake maker. I love making cakes, right? All I want to do is make cakes all the time. It turns out that I have such a passion for cakes. I love every single small detail about cakes. I love how I can get it soft and spongy. I love sometimes when it has to be hard and get it hard. I love the soft icing, the hard icing. I love the pedantic detail of making icing on the top. It turns out that I've got such an invested interest in cakes that I've got all the tools necessary. I've got my electric egg beater, I've got my electric scales, I've got all the baking powder that you want. I've got 5 different types of flour. I've got the cacao powder. I've got little chocolate.
Just describing my kitchen.
Yeah.
Like I can't fit anymore.
I've got the little gummy things to put on top. That sounded ridiculous because gummy means something else in German. But anyway, I've got the little kind of the jellies to put on top.
Condom themed show, everybody, for non-German speakers.
The chocolate chips to put inside it. You get the idea. Yeah. I love making cakes. It turns out as well that people want to buy my cakes. In fact, they're happy to buy a slice of a cake, right? Giving me like enough revenue to live. And then someone basically comes along and says, you can't make cakes anymore. And you're like, well, that sucks. And then they go, yeah, well, you know, everyone's in the same boat, so shut up. And you go, oh, I can deal with that. I can deal with that. That's fine. And you know, you're like, you know, you're down and out and a little bit for like a month. All the performers were, but we reacted really quickly. So, you know, come like the middle of April, people were adapting, but then people go, oh, don't be so like hard on yourself, like you can't make cakes, boo-hoo. Why don't you just take a picture of cakes and do that? And people will still like, you know, enjoy it and look at it.
Oh shit.
And you're like, well, okay, so the reason why you make cakes is because people like them. You like seeing the little you know, chubby cheeks chomping down in your cake and watching them satisfied and waddle home fat. You like that. They like that. That's why they come back to you. And when you're just taking photos and essentially trying to like, you know, take a stab at social media, which you weren't really interested in the first place, or you didn't attack it in that kind of way to get numbers and likes and followers, it was really just information of when you were going to make your cake / perform. That's basically what happened to performers. We couldn't perform live anymore, and we had to kind of adapt to do it online. Now, this is where the justifiable bit might come in, because although that in itself does sound like a, oh boo-hoo, like you haven't got what you wanted, we can, and I think I can speak for more than one person, or more than myself rather, you know, when I say that it's you know, it's fine for like 6 months, it's bearable for like a year, but I think now 14 months in, we just can't do it anymore. It's living your life by doing something that you don't want to do, and that's quite hard.
Yeah,
that's quite hard. So I think a lot of people are at that stage now, and that's solely speaking in terms of like purpose and performing and kind of what you do.
But also, you don't, like, no one pays for a picture of a cake, do they?
Exactly.
They just look at it. Like, you pay to go and eat a cake.
Well, I think, yeah, exactly. And I think what happens as well, which is totally like a normal like thing to happen, is when you start putting pictures of your cake up on Instagram, you get a lot of people enjoying that and liking it. And then it starts to kind of trail off. Why? Because maybe there's someone else, you know, that's got an establishment that can sell cakes, and they're like, yeah, well, let's just go there instead. You know, it's the general thing that people will follow you. There'll be a spike at the beginning because, like, and then it all dips off, and this happens with everyone. So now, when you were starting off, like, doing a bit of content, it was fun, it was clever, it was good, it was intelligent, you enjoyed what you were doing, and you were getting, like, I don't know, 200, 300 views on YouTube or something. And then like 14 months later, all that dips because no one really, you know, wants to put them, because so then it all kind of, and you start to get into this stupid thing of like, oh, like 20 likes or 20 views on YouTube, like everything, and it's just such a horrible kind of way, because it's not true, and it's just like not the way like things actually are, and nothing is as it seems in terms of that.
Yeah.
You just want to create for creation's sake, but because you've no real live audience in front of you giving you that live affirmation that you really need to go, hey, I am doing something right, then it can get a little bit kind of disheartening and soul destroying and kind of
no, that was a very good analogy, and I think that's exactly, you know, why we wanted to come on and talk, because I think, as you sort of touched on there's also this idea, you know, we've talked about the global divide between people, you know, countries experiencing the pandemic in very different ways, but even within like groups of friends, it's been very, very different. You know, some people have continued to work and all of this, and it just, it must be so hard. Like, I know as a teacher, it's not even the same because I was still doing it, but like to have to go online, it's just, it's not the same, and at least someone was paying me for my pictures of teaching.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
and it's like,
so you put your show online, right?
I did put a version of it online, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that go? How many did you do?
I done 4 in total.
Okay.
2 of which were kind of chaotic but good, and the other ones were actually, I was quite happy with them. The very first one and the latest one that I done.
They were all really, really great. And this is the other thing, like, and I know it's not ideal, and we wish that, and I don't want to be like Pollyanna kind of painting a silver lining on the pandemic, but the way in which people like yourself have taken what they do and like put it online and made it digital and socially distant stuff is just fucking incredible, and like a testament to creatives everywhere.
And was it different? And I mean, how was it different doing it? Because you did it, because I watched it too, and you were basically performing for a camera.
I remember the ones you watched. I remember you actually commenting on I had this bit where I was talking about like quinine, which is one of the main ingredients in tonic water, and there's a huge story about malaria and quinine. I'll send a link to it or something. And anyway, you were like that. Wow, I kind of learned something there. And on that particular stream, I was doing costume changes. There was I had a projector on the go. It
was amazing.
It was pretty cool actually. But this is the thing, like,
and it must. I mean, you could tell I could tell that you'd put an awful lot of work into it, because it was really well rehearsed with because there were like sections where you were not visible, then you had to get changed, and then you suddenly appeared again as a different character. And all this other
And basically, I got my living room. Each corner I set up as a completely different like universe almost.
That was your living room?
That was just one room.
It looked like a studio or something.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I mean. They're incredible.
So you have to innovate, you know.
It's really like.
But that's the thing. So I don't, because the thing is, I can't complain like too much. It's simply just where I keep saying it's where I am at the moment, because it's if you stop doing journalism or if you stop doing teaching, you know, you're kind of like, all right, I can like do loads of research. I can do that project that I wanted to do. I can do this and that, and you can do that up until like 6 months to even a year. But it gets to a stretch where you're like, I'm a teacher. I literally trained to be a teacher. Get me back in the fucking classroom. And like, get me back to like writing proper articles for proper publications, and not just me like trying to do a blog. You know, it's the same kind of vibe.
No, it's exactly, and it's really good to have you break it down like that, because I hadn't, you know, we're just not always very good at putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and I think we also have this. A bit like the priority groups, we also have this kind of like societal prioritization of jobs, and I think people that have been, you know, it's very easy to be sort of dismissive of other people's things, but like everyone's work and everyone's career is like system relevant. Like we all. Yeah.
But look at, like, remember what was happening with there was like this Tory campaign, which actually happened to be like older than it was, and it was like, you know, the ballet dancer doesn't know it yet, but she's a programmer, or, you know, that was just such.
Oh my God.
Remember that? Yeah. And that was
Cyber.
The Go Cyber, the Go Cyber campaign. And that genuinely was just a kick in the teeth for anyone who, and I remember these things coming out, so they had the original poster that was a ballet dancer, then someone released it and it had like maybe 20 tags, and it was like photographer, makeup artist, Photoshop guy, editor, boom guy, and whatever. And it just goes to show that there's a lot of stuff that I think in the arts that are taken for granted, and until they genuinely are all gone, when it is going to be really too late, then people are going about that shit. I can't believe there was like comedy on and we never really took it, like we never went off enough, or music, or like, man, I cannot wait to see a live band.
I took so many things for granted. I was like, a friend of mine was very cute. She was just in the staff room, and she's like, I'm just thinking about all the house parties I left at 2 a.m. because I was tired. What is wrong with me?
Totally.
But no, you're exactly.
Or all those times you got annoyed when there was like a guy playing guitar at your favourite restaurant on a Sunday night. You know, and it was like a little open mic, and there was like 20 people up there, and they came with their little guitars and their G C and D chords and their little versions of the Beatles or whatever, and you were just like, fucking hipsters.
I feel like you and I were at that same Sunday.
Yeah.
I will never. I am so sorry that I ever.
You shouldn't have to like apologize for that, because it probably was. It was intrusive, and it was just. We just got trapped in it. We weren't. But I can't wait to just be like, it's Tuesday. Let me just check online to see how many open mics are on in this city, and I'm going to go see some people play acoustic guitar through some nice speakers, or some weird spoken word poetry with tambourines.
Literally anything with other people, and like live music. Oh my God, how quickly can I feel somebody else's sweat on me?
Yeah,
is basically my question now. But speaking of like the prioritization of different people's careers and stuff, and how some of them just had, as you said, like the rug pulled onto you, what has been your experience of, well, do you want to talk, Konrad, about what the official line is on help from the German government?
Well, yeah, so the government did offer Berlin freelancers of all kinds some money, right?
Yeah.
To get through.
Yeah.
What was your experience of that? I believe you got like last March or April, you got 5,000 euros.
Yeah. To be honest, man, mostly, in fact, all so far positive. And there was, I mean, I have no qualms at all about sharing my financial state over the past year. There was, first of all, the €5,000 bump that was like given to all artists or anyone freelancing. But with a particular thing, kind of aim towards culture and anyone kind of in the arts. It was everyone in the arts was like, whoa. Unfortunately, that was taken advantage of by too many little arseholes who were like students in like 22, and they just applied for it and got it. But I tell you something, that's coming back right at you. Anyone listening, the German government, they are like on it.
So you have to pay it back.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. Like I won't have to pay it back because I can wholeheartedly prove. Just one look at my bank account, we'll just see negative going out to buy food and pay rent and electricity, and that's what it was for. There was two versions of the €5,000 that came out back in April. There was one that you could just do whatever with, just live off, and there was another one that was based just on your business, anything to do with your business. If it was relatable to your business, then it was fine. If not, you might come across some problems, but that's further down the line. Then HeartSphere came my way. I had to apply for that because there was nothing else to do. Now that is just, I think, a great system, like completely, man. Like they were basically giving me and still are €1,000 a month. That covers my rent, my health insurance, and a couple of €100 for food. Fine, I don't need any more than that. I'm a fucking artist. I've never needed any more than that.
I know, but I do think we should.
But don't they?
So
okay,
then what happened was they as far as my understanding, they offered a second lot of €5,000, of which I did not apply for because I was on HeartSphere, and I don't know, my memory doesn't serve well if I know people that got that or applied for it, etc. I don't know what the stipulations were regarding that. But then October Hilfe came out, November Hilfe, and December Hilfe.
Right,
and
what was that exactly?
That was basically whatever you earned in, let's say it was October Hilfe, whatever you earned in October 2019,
okay.
You got 25% of that, or 75% of that.
Yeah.
Or 25%, what one or the other. So that was like €400 for me. And I got like €400 in November again.
So you had to send in your bank statements and stuff.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, you just
So
said
they
it.
just did it because you were.
No. So you applied for it, but it was online, and it was like a 2-page online form.
Okay.
Like your name, your Steuernummer, where you live, some details to say that, hey man.
And you were still able to do that while you're on
HeartSphere, yeah.
Which, by the way, if anyone doesn't know, it's the word for unemployment benefit in Germany. It's actually, I think, not called that anymore, but we all call it still HeartSphere. But
yeah, I don't know. I think Arbeitslosengeld 2.
Arbeitslosengeld 2.
So
Everyone calls it HeartSphere,
Yeah.
but the official name is Arbeitslosengeld.
Yeah, they changed it because it got very like.
They didn't change it. That's just the official name and what people actually call it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought
It's always been ALG 2. It's always been ALG 2
But why is it called HeartSphere?
because a guy called Hartz invented it.
But it must have been called HeartSphere at some point.
It was always, it's never officially been called HeartSphere, it's just what everyone calls it.
But then where did the fear come from?
Because it was I can't remember. The point is,
Sorry, I'm gonna stop.
There's ALG 1 and there's ALG 2. And
Yeah.
that's the official name, it's always been the official name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I am
yeah,
shockingly misinformed.
yeah. So I've been on the 4th Earl of Hearts for the past year, which, and then there was another one that came out that you were eligible for. And it's because they done this October Hilfe, November Hilfe, December Hilfe, and they were like, wait a minute, we can't fucking do this every month. So let's just give everyone the opportunity to get one from January to June 2021. Okay. And you can still apply for that, by the way, up until the end of June, I think. So anyone that's out there that thinks they're eligible for it, they should totally do it. Because what you do is you get 25% of your whole tax year in 2019. So whatever you end in 2019, you get 25% of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got a substantial amount.
Are you sure it's just 25%?
Maybe it's 75%.
That seems like not very much.
Yeah,
money.
it could be. To be honest, with the amount that I got, it was probably 75%.
Yeah.
But
That seems more reasonable.
The thing is, what I love about the German benefit system, the social welfare system, is that they kind of and it probably goes very much similar with these grants that we were given, because they're very much kind of temporary grants. So anyone that got these grants, they are expected to pay it back.
Okay.
Right? So that is a stipulation in what you tick. They're like that. Look, there is a huge chance that we will ask for this money back. Are you okay with that? And you're like, yeah, give me it.
Yeah,
because I think that's a total fine thing to do. Even Heartsphere. I'm happy. Just get me out of the situation just now. When I'm working, I'm happy to give you back the money that you loaned me to get through, be it half of it or all of it. Okay, let's not fucking shoot our words here, Chris. Like, I'm half a Megacan, and I'm like, I'll pay it all back, 100%, no worries.
I will give you this amount, and then we will call it a day in good faith. Gentleman's agreement.
Gentleman
Jack agreement.
But that's basically it. I'm happy.
Okay.
So people they have to be aware that it's not just free money. It's like, here's stuff to get you out of the situation that you're in just now, and we want you to get back into work. But when you're back into work, I think it's fair enough to say we want some of that back, and I'm totally happy to do that.
I'm glad that you're happy about it. I think you should just give people free money in a fucking pandemic when you've told them they can't make cakes anymore, and all they want to do is make cakes, and that's how they make their living. But I understand. But I think that's really good, because we obviously criticize the German government a lot because they are like a centrist right government. But I think what a lot of people maybe outside of Germany or outside of Europe don't understand, that even within a centrist right government in Germany, that still means that there is what in other countries would be seen as very progressive socialist state support, really.
Yeah.
Are you going to disagree with me now?
I mean, it is better than other countries, but it is also still based on, you have to apply for jobs, don't you? And
usually on Heartsphere you do, yeah. But they're pretty good, man. They're pretty. Look, I've heard some horror stories where you get hounded and you have to kind of. But look, at the end of the day, if they're saying, look, we're giving you money, here's a job over here for you working in a warehouse. Why don't you just work in a warehouse until you figure out what you really want to do? Like, I'm not sure if that's like a good thing, like, or a bad thing, quite frankly, because maybe you do need to just get up and move about for a couple of months and then find out, like, fuck doing this forever, I'm going to do that thing over there. But they haven't hounded anyone on during the pandemic, because they can't, because hardly anything's open. And if I say that my talents lie in performance or entertaining or even bar work, gastronomy, hospitality, then they offered me like a job in Netto and Lidl and all that. They did offer that, and I wouldn't ever like turn that down if my back is up against the wall. But this was early on in the pandemic, 3-4 months in. And I just thought I was going to be on Heartsphere for 6 months. I thought, let's do this. I thought everything was going to open in August 2020. Look, back to work. Let's do this. Get off Heartsphere. But that never happened.
Yes, we were all...
Because we were all out. There was that lull in August 2019.
It's because Germany never had the numbers that were very bad, and we were all very smug, and we were like, this is great. And then, because they sort of... Now I'm thinking of it, by chance decided to lock down 2 weeks earlier than other places, and then kept our numbers down, and we're like, we're invincible, Germany. And then the autumn came, and we're like, oh no, this is an unworkable system of government. No one can agree, and everything takes 1 million years. Oh, everyone's got fucking corona. Fuck. That is my summation of the Bundestag 2020, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary folks. Yeah.
It's anyway. Thanks very much. I'm just trying to, because I got to edit all this later. It's going to take ages.
Yeah. Just do what I do, man. Keep it all in.
I don't mind. I'm happy to talk, but maybe I can just turn off the microphones and then we can talk on. But
I think we're going to.
Okay. But
how long are we at?
Oh, just over an hour.
How long is it's usually like 50?
It's like 35, 40 minutes.
Wow.
40.
But it's okay. It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
Special Chris Davis episode, double the fun.
It was amazing to have you here.
It really
it was lovely.
Yeah.
And do go and watch The Wandering Barman whenever it is on again. Is it ever going to be on again?
Yes.
100%. Maybe. You can just follow me, please, at the Wandering Barman, and there you will find everything you need to know.
Yeah.
And what were the podcasts again?
Lifting Your Spirits, which is Cocktails and Friends, and then there's Dimming the Light, which is a little bit more of a sadder number.
Both on
But
YouTube.
it's still very, very good.
It's still very good.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very, very much
Thanks
for
very
coming,
much.
Chris. That was like genuinely very enlightening.
I
So
really
thank
appreciate you
Oh my
having
God, I
me.
still got
Thanks.
loads of Mega left.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Bonus.
Take care, everybody. Maybe don't buy a ticket for Vax Live. Get
No.
your vaxes if you can. And
Yeah. And
good luck.
Wash your hands.
Wear your masks and wash your hands and Schnell test if
Yeah.
you can.
Thanks very much. Bye.